My sweet cat Xena died in my arms last week. It was quite a shock and totally unexpected, and I want to honor her life by telling her story. I've been talking a lot on my channel about pet surgeries. My border collie Asha, who is 13, had dental surgery in February. Then around the end of May, I found out that she also needed parathyroid surgery, which is quite a major surgery. At the same time, I found out that my puppy Skeen needed patella surgery. So that's a lot of surgeries already. Just over a month ago, my cat Xena was not eating her regular amount of food. So I brought her to the vet and he had a look at her teeth, and she had just lost a tooth, and it was clear that she had some dental issues. So she was on a waiting list for dental surgery. She got a surgery date of August the 12th, and I was feeling a bit anxious about just getting that surgery done because it was really clear that she was in a lot of discomfort. She wasn't acting like her normal self. She was spending a lot of time outside on the deck, on the cot, and she just wasn't her sparky self. And a couple of weeks ago, I had talked to the vet about pain medication. So he prescribed some pain medication and also an appetite stimulant. Teeth can really be painful, and I never like to see an animal in pain, but when there's a surgery that can fix it, you know that it's a temporary pain. During Xena's last week, she was spitting up a lot, and I don't know how much of her food she was really keeping down. She was definitely having a lot of trouble eating, but again, it seemed like it was all related to her tooth issue. I started to worry about it because although the surgery date wasn't too far off and she was on pain meds and appetite stimulants, if she's spitting up food and maybe not keeping it down, it's definitely going to impact her health in some way. She had been eating canned cat food because obviously when your teeth are painful, regular kibble is going to be a problem. And I had just picked up a new batch of canned food for her. On the evening of August the 2nd, I gave her her pain medication, and she had a very extreme reaction that really scared me. The pain medication was supposed to go into her cheek. It was a liquid form, and I don't know if she got some down her throat or into her lung, but she actually fell over, and I didn't know what it meant, but when I put her down on the ground, she was staggering a bit, and obviously that's a disturbing symptom, and I didn't know what that was related to. Of course, I worry about my pets, and these kinds of things can really be alarming, but I also knew she had this tooth issue, and I just wondered if it could somehow be related. Anyway, I knew that I had to get her to the vet the next morning. I was very tempted to bring her to the emergency vet, but because she had a diagnosis and because she was doing okay after the pain medication, I decided just to leave her for the night and let her relax. She was really affectionate the last few days, and I would stroke her under the chin and she would just purr. Although she was an affectionate cat, she had like a 3-pet limit. You didn't overdo, or she would give you her little love nip, and she wasn't doing that. Obviously her teeth were sore, and so she wasn't going to nip, but she was really especially affectionate to me, and I just sometimes wonder if they're trying to tell you something when they're extra affectionate and that's not in their normal nature. Anyway, I stroked her, she purred, she was laying on my dog's bed, very cozy and comfortable. And so I waited for the next morning to call the vet. I called them, I got an appointment for the afternoon, and I put her in my bedroom with the litter box and with her food because she'd been having so much trouble with the food, and just thought that if she was left on her own, no dogs, no other cat, then maybe she'd have a chance to eat up her food, which she did. So when I went to check on her and bring her to the vet, she had actually eaten all her food and she seemed relatively alert and perky. So I packed her up into her cat crate, and on the way to the vet, she was rubbing up against my fingers as I touched her through the crate, and she was pretty much seemed her normal self. When I got to the vet, she remarked about what a pretty cat she was, and we spoke about giving Xena appetite stimulants, and I'd had a lot of trouble getting them down. She really did not want to open her teeth, and so we talked about pill poppers and a few ways of getting medication into cats. The vet gave her a thorough checkup, and I had mentioned that her throat seemed to be really sore. She kept swallowing a lot, and so the vet had checked her throat and chest area, and she said she didn't like what she was feeling. It seemed that she was maybe feeling a lot of congestion. She asked if she could take an x-ray, and I agreed. So when the vet came back, she basically said that the results of the x-rays did not look good, that her lungs were basically covered with lesions and it could be lung cancer. If it was an infection, she had no temperature. There was no other sign of infection. Her teeth were clearly bad, and she clearly had a problem with her teeth, but there were no indicators of something going on a month previously. Her lungs had been checked, her breathing was fine then. Within a month, she had lost almost 1 kilogram. With the x-ray showing likely cancer of the lungs, her prognosis was poor. I was told that she would not be able to have the dental surgery, which would ultimately mean she would always have tooth pain. The vet gave me some options if I wanted to keep her going, but honestly, I think the vet and I both agreed that it was cruel just to keep her going in the level of pain, and the fact that she had fallen over the night before. I now realized that she had actually fainted, and that maybe when I gave her the medication, if it kind of went down the wrong tube, I mean, she was maybe not getting enough air, but for whatever reason, she actually fainted. So her quality of life was going to just be poor from then on. I've had a lot of pet deaths, but this one was a shock because I really did think that there was a solution. And I think what's hard is that I had a belief that she had a fixable problem, and this was not a fixable problem. So I made the decision at that point to euthanize. And I really feel it was the right decision for Xena. It was really strange because with most of my pets, I've had some sense that they were going. Xena was only 10 years old and she looked healthy, and because the blood tests came up good, apparently a lot of the blood tests just don't show cancer markers, and so it's something I didn't know. I just thought really everything was fine. So it was really a shock. The one beautiful thing that we can do for our pets is to give them a peaceful transition. And I have to say, she got a beautiful transition. And I'm so grateful to the people at the vet clinic for that. I've heard so many horror stories about pets having a bad transition, and it's so important to me that those final moments be peaceful. And it is the one thing that we can offer our pets that we actually can't always offer the human beings in our life. My dad just died in April, and he literally had to starve to death. And so having watched that, I have a huge appreciation for the wonderful thing that we do for our pets in offering euthanasia and offering peaceful euthanasia. The vet asked if I wanted to be there, and of course I said yes. I think it's so important that our pets feel the comfort of our presence in those final moments, if we can possibly be there. I know all circumstances don't work out that way, and you can't guilt yourself about that. But when you do have the opportunity and you do have the choice, I think it is so important for our pets to feel the comfort of our being there. They took Xena to the back. I was a little bit worried that we'd communicated that yes, I wanted to be there, and they were absolutely certain that I did want to be there, but they wanted to make sure that she was settled, and I think they gave her some sort of sedative in the back. They brought me into another room, and when Xena came in, she was wrapped all snugly and cozy in a blanket, and she sat on my lap,
And she purred and purred and purred. And it was just, for me, it was confirmation that the timing was right and it was the right thing to do. So she slowly settled. She was a little bit agitated when she first sat down, in the sense that her tail was flicking around a bit, even though she was purring. And so the vet techs came in to check on her, and I think they administered 2 or 3 more sedatives. They administered something rectally, which I'm sure was something to make her feel very calm and relaxed, and gave her another shot. And then they administered her IV. Her only uncomfortable reaction was when they inserted the IV. She growled just very slightly. It was, obviously that's a little bit uncomfortable, but very quickly afterwards she settled again. And she just continued purring the whole time. So she was wrapped in a blanket in my arms and just purring for really most of the procedure. When the vet came in at the end, we just again talked about the decision and just affirmed that it was the right thing for her, and that really it is such a kind thing that we can do to give our pets this peaceful transition. So then the vet administered the final, basically, overdose that would send her to the other side. She gave her a little bit of time before she checked her heartbeat to make sure that she was gone. I live on an acreage, and I made the decision that I would bury her on my acreage. That's not an option for everyone, I realize, but that's what I decided I wanted to do for her. I've had other pets cremated. The way that it all happened so quickly, and I just decided that I wanted to do my own burial for her. Again, like I said, that's not an option for everybody. There are lots of city regulations, but where I live, it's okay. There's a lot of shade where I live, but there's this one sunny area where I have a Buddha and a few plants, and Xena always loved the sun, and so I decided that was the perfect place where she could rest.
Is this where kitties like to be? In the one patch of sunshine? Any sunshining out?
I have a strong belief that life does continue after death, and in that sense, I am comforted and reassured that she's not gone, but I just can't see her anymore. The day of Xena's death, there was an owl that flew over with a rodent in its clutches. I went down to my pond the next day just to meditate and contemplate everything that had just happened. And an owl, I assume the same owl, was sitting up in a tree, and I had the dogs with me, and the dogs were in the water splashing and moving around, but this owl stayed with us the whole time, and it was just a beautiful owl. I do feel sometimes there are messengers that tell us that life does continue on, and I think we were down by the pond over half an hour and that owl didn't leave the whole time. I found it very comforting, and I've had similar signs with other pets that have passed that have just been comforting and reassuring to me. Regardless of your belief system or your religion, it's the things that comfort you and help you carry on, because you are still here in this life and you have to carry on. So I do believe in signs, and I do believe they tell us that they're here, and sometimes it's hard for us to recognize them or to understand the message, but I do believe they're still there for us. The things that I'll remember about Xena, her special chirpy purr that I just adored. She was an excellent mouser, and she liked to share her food with her family, and I guess I was part of her family. Although I don't share her taste for that particular food. She also strangely liked potato chips. When she was a younger cat, she actually tried to catch a moth from the windowsill above my staircase, And in the middle of the night, she crashed down and managed to break her jaw. So that was a big vet procedure that she went through and ended up fine in the end. I adopted Xena because I wanted to have a partner for Zeus, my orange tabby, who was very lonely after he lost his friend. Xena was not really the friend that I had in mind, because Xena, although I think she liked Zeus, she was very feisty and she just didn't like to have him close.
That's not nice of you. That's not nice of you. Did she be mean? You were not nice to him. Oh my.
So they had their spats, but I do think they liked each other. And although in the end Zeus sometimes got feisty with her, I think they did enjoy each other's company. Xena liked to steal the biggest of the dog beds, and often there was a competition between Sprite and Xena over who got the fireside dog bed. Xena's rodent hunting led her to sometimes stay out too late at night, and I'd be calling her for hours, which was always a worry. So I ended up getting a cat tracking device, and I found her secret rodent hunting spots. Generally, they were underneath a lot of blackberry bushes. I ended up giving her an after-dinner curfew, so after dinner, no outings. And she basically accepted that. She always did come home because home was home and Xena was family. My heart feels broken, but I know that's because our pets make our hearts grow so much bigger. Not just from the joy they bring us, but also from the care they require from us. Bon voyage, sweet Xena. I hope I'll see you again one day over the Rainbow Bridge.